I'm Charles Thomson, an associate at Setcharetti Architecture. We focus on buildings mainly in New York City, both public, private, cultural, residential, commercial. When it comes to building facades, at least in New York City, a lot of them are design builds, which means that we in some ways partner with the manufacturer so that we can really understand all the technical issues at an early phase. The lead time for facades is a year or more, so owners really like to get someone on board that's going to provide the engineering and the technical expertise that we can sort of partner with. So in the case of a large-scale curtain wall, that's usually obviously the owner, the architect, but also the construction manager and the facade manufacturer, as well as the curtain wall consultant. So in the case of, let's say, as an example, 412 West 15th Street, which is a project that we completed with AZA-INT, we went in at the design development phase with an idea of what we wanted to do for the facade and design ideas for, so in the case of this project, it was a really small footprint, which a lot of sites in New York City these days are very small footprints and tall buildings. So it's an office building. It has a side core, and so one of the sort of technical aspects we went in as was that the facade was designed as a rain screen, where it was opaque at the core, and working with the manufacturer, in this case AZA-INT, we actually went with a fully unitized curtain wall for the whole project, which has a little bit more initial cost, but working with our construction manager and talking about how the installation would happen over the course of the project, it actually saved them time and money to unitize the whole facade. So you don't really get that type of interaction with when you don't do the design assist process, and the design assist is where everyone is really sitting in the room together. That includes the engineers from the manufacturer side. It's something that we really like to do, because the first meeting that we had with AZA-INT, they actually brought full-scale mock-ups scale mock-ups of portions of our facade in several options, and showed us these aluminum panels that we had only seen as renderings, and that was the kickoff meeting. So that's where you can see the real benefit of doing the design assist is that they can show you their capabilities really up front, and you don't always get that. You visualize things through computer models. You may make small scale mock-ups, but you don't get these real aluminum or whatever material you're using mock-ups that early in the process. So that's really helpful to us as a design team. And then you're able to also work through a lot of details that can be specific to certain manufacturers and their capabilities. In this case, AZA-INT was able to really show us what they could do to make this facade really phenomenal, and we're really excited to have them as part of the process. Installation time is really a critical factor. So when you have one installer with a fully unitized curtain wall, as opposed to two different subcontractors doing two different types of installation, in this case it would have been a rain screen where you have to scaffold the building or drop, which they did not have to do when they proposed unitizing all of it. So it's that time that's saved, and obviously the time is the money factor. We did what's called a design assist on that project, where the owner knows up front that they want to really get the facade bought and engineered early in the process, and so that required AZA-INT to come on board early, along with our curtain wall consultant and us and the construction manager, is really sit down in a room on a weekly basis and hash out all the details, including material submittals, so that all of that can be sort of taken care of early. It also, we did, for that particular project, we did a facade mock-up in Italy, which wasn't required, but it actually saved about a month in the schedule, not having to ship all the component parts to the United States and do the lab testing here, which could have been done, but again, as a time saver. And doing that design assist process where you have clear communications and people are actually looking at each other face to face. At times it was virtual meetings, but still you're face to face discussing the details of the project. It really saves time on a lot of back and forth of drawings that in other aspects or other projects where you don't do that. It's just it can be add months to the project if you don't do that. So we really like working with a manufacturer, especially when it comes to something so important as a building facade. We don't have a specific focus on building types here, but we do a lot of residential and commercial buildings, which aren't necessarily public buildings, but in New York City, these buildings, like the building we're in right now, is an office building that most people don't go into, but yet it makes the city. These are the buildings that really contribute to the presence of New York City. So the facades just become these really incredibly important aspects of a building. We've collaborated on 2 projects with AZA-INT, one being 412 West 15th and the other being Essex Crossing. 412 West 15th is completed. Essex Crossing is still in the design phase. It hasn't started installation quite yet. That project, so the facade of that project is actually a combination of quite a few different materials, which is quite interesting. It's all unitized curtain wall, but it has brick, it has glazed terracotta, it has some really interesting corrugated metals to it. So we went and saw the mock-up in that case, we had the mock-up done in Pennsylvania, and it's really a beautiful facade. So we're really excited about that one. Similar process, design assist, but really a very different facade, even though they're both unitized curtain walls. For 412 West 15th Street, we began the collaboration during sort of the design development phase, and some of the collaboration really looked at how we could achieve what we wanted to achieve at the top of the building in terms of a screen wall, where their engineering expertise really helped us to solve something that at that phase in design wasn't totally fleshed out. So it was critical to have access to their engineers, and it truly was a collaboration to get what we were looking for from a design standpoint. Again, their ability to mock things up and very quickly show us those, send them to us, send us different material choices. It wasn't just sort of matching. They were very responsive in terms of getting us options for could be coatings or could be the glass. I think one of the aspects that I personally really liked about working with them and European suppliers in particular is that the glass that they source has a lot less green in it. It's because of the European sand that make up their glass. So you're getting basically low iron glass, even if you don't specify it, which is pretty great. We usually specify a thicker outer light to get a flatness, and if you look at 412 West 15th Street, the facade is beautifully flat, and that's that thicker glass, the 8 mil outer light, really is not an issue in European suppliers, whereas sometimes domestic suppliers have big upticks in their cost for that. So that was great in terms of achieving something that looked really incredible without really having to have the owner pay that extra premium. Some manufacturers may just do the one thing that you've shown. AZA-INT really brought a creativity to it that made us really think about our own project, and because of their ability to make mock-ups quickly, we had half a dozen ideas about our panelization for the core wall, as an example, for 412 West 15th Street, they then mocked these up, gave us a bunch of options that we looked at and that they sent to us, and then ultimately made a much better informed decision on that based on their willingness to sort of go the extra step in working with us. For a lot of different building systems, there isn't a lot of exchange of ideas. It's really sort of a set of construction documents that go and then they are bid on and ultimately shop drawings are created. In the case of working with AZA-INT in a design assist process, it's really not that way. It's a two-way street that there's truly a collaboration, and I think that the ability to do that is really makes a better project, and better project both technically and aesthetically. So you can really hone in on what you want, as opposed to sort of you getting just the one thing that you may have specified. It's really, to me, it's vitally important to be able to have that type of collaboration.